Hello everyone and thank you for watching. I wanted to just provide a little presentation on information and documents that will be needed during a regular tax appointment. So to start off with, information that's going to be needed would be your identification, so ID or driver's license, social security cards for you and any dependents, birth dates for you and any dependents. If you are a new client, a copy of your prior year tax return would be extremely helpful. It'll show me what information was used, how much your refund was, if you had any retirement, like COVID retirement withdrawals. Super important if you're a new client to bring that. Also, if you were a victim of identity theft, you will normally get a letter in the mail every year, and it's called an identity protection PIN number. And let me just show you what that looks like. Okay, it looks something like that. And on this letter, it's going to have a PIN number that changes once a year. Okay. And if you weren't a victim of identity theft, this does not apply and you do not need that. If you don't have it and you know you're missing it, you can get it online or call the IRS. And if you're a new client, I will need your bank routing and account number, and you can get this from your app on your phone, your statement, or a check. Now let's go over income. This is going to be a few items of income. There is more, but this is generally the forms that are most commonly reported. Okay, so W-2 from all jobs, even if it was for a short period of time. I do come across some people saying, oh, I only worked there for a day or only worked there for a week and I didn't think I needed it. But when you file a tax return, it's super important to include all your income earned for the year. Okay, so you'll need to contact the different employers if you had more than one employer. Reach out to them and get that W-2. In regards to being self-employed, you may receive a 1099 NEC form or a 1099K form. And this year, the requirement on the 1099K is they'll only issue it to you if you made more than $20,000 of sales or had more than 200 transactions. They were trying to change it to where if you made more than $600, but that's going to be for next year. All right. And if you received Social Security income, let me just show you a sample of what that form looks like. There you go. And that's mainly for people who are retired and getting Social Security income. You'll need that form if you don't have it. They usually mail it to you in January. If you don't have it, you can go to the Social Security website and get it there. Another one would be the EDD unemployment. So if you're collecting unemployment or you are on paid family leave, you'll need Form 1099G. Let me show you a sample of that form. Bear with me for 1 second, sorry. All right, so that form is going to look like this. They usually mail it out. If you don't have it, misplaced it, you can log on to the EDD website and you can obtain that form there. All right, so if you have a pension or maybe you took out some money early from your 401k plan, they're going to send you a Form 1099R. If you borrowed from your 401k, those technically don't count unless you leave the company, then they're going to send you a 1099R if you didn't pay it back. And let's see here. All right, the next thing on the line is if you had stocks or crypto, they'll send you Form 1099B, and usually these forms are not available until after February 15th. If you receive alimony income, you'll need to report that. So you'll need to report that because maybe federal might not be taxable, but state will. If you had canceled or forgiven debt, this one a lot of people don't realize that they even had it happen until they get a letter from the IRS. But this one's really important. So if you had your car repossessed or if you had credit cards that you stopped paying and they sent you a letter to kind of settle with you, or maybe a student loan that was forgiven, you do have to report that. The student loans, there is an exception to exclude the income, but it's going to be on a Form 1099C for credit cards, auto loans. If you have gambling income, you'll need to bring those tax forms that were given to you. It's Form W-2G. If you own a business, you will need to produce a list of income and expenses. Okay, so you do need to have that ready before your appointment. You can't really come up with it on your own, during the day of your appointment. You do really need to, track your income, track your expenses, make sure you have your receipts and everything. If you need help and you don't know what to write off, I can email you a little worksheet that shows all the common expenses that, are eligible to be written off if you have it. If you own a rental property and you hire a management company, they'll usually send you a 1099. If you don't and you're collecting the rent on your own, you will need an income and expense worksheet. If you need help with that, I can email it to you so you can see what could be deductible and what income to report for the year. Now let's go over expenses. One of the most common ones is people forget to give me the 1098T if they're a student. Also, you'll need to provide, if you had expenses for books, supplies, laptop, etc. Make sure you write that down and total that up before your appointment. And let me show you what that form looks like. They usually mail it to you. If not, they can email it to you, or it's available on your student portal, 1098T. And on this form, it's super important. It's going to show us how much tuition you had. It's going to show us if you received any scholarships or grants. Okay. All right. And the next one, if you pay for childcare for your dependent, you're going to need to provide the letter that they normally issue. And it's going to show us the name of the provider, their address, their phone number, their tax ID number, and the amount that was paid to them for the tax year for caring for the child. If you don't have that letter, and maybe it's through a private party or an individual, you will need this form. It's called the W-10, and I can email this form to you, or you can just Google W-10 and this form will pop up. And it's basically for the dependent care provider's identification. So they'll need to provide their name, their social or tax ID number, address, and then sign that, they received payment for taking care of your child. All right, next one is solar panel credit. So if you installed solar panels, there is 30% tax credit on that, and I will need the contract to look at some information to calculate that credit for you. If you are receiving healthcare benefits from Covered California, those are super important. Your return actually cannot be filed until we have those forms. And let me just show you what those forms look like. It is two forms. So this is the 1095A. It's going to show us how much, who's covered and what months you were insured and what kind of advance credits you got, if any. The next one from Covered California is going to be the state, so California Health Insurance Marketplace Statement. And this one's Form 3895, and it's basically the same information, except here, I don't believe they provide very much credit. For expenses, we're also going to need, if you gamble and have income, if you have gambling expenses, you do need to keep a record of that. If you need help, I do have a gambling spending log if needed, and you can kind of reconcile all that information. If you're a homeowner and you itemize and deduct expenses, so this is if you're doing the long form, then these items here are going to apply. So mortgage interest. So if you're paying a lender payments for your house, the interest and property tax is going to be deductible. Now, if you refinance, make sure that you get 1099 forms for each lender that you're making payments to. And this form is a 1098, and it's going to show the lender, how much mortgage interest, how much property tax you paid. Okay. And property tax, if you pay separately or for a second home, I'll need that form. If you pay for vehicle registration, I'll need that. If you happen to purchase a new or used vehicle, bring in your sales contract because the sales tax might benefit you. So I'd like to take a look at those numbers for you. And lastly, if you are donating money to charity or do church tithings, make sure you bring that documentation showing proof that you did that. And if you donated clothing, if you go to the Goodwill website, or actually it's a Salvation Army, let me just show you what it looks like. Okay, so it's called the Donation Value Guide. And let me just pull this up for you. So you go to Salvation Army, and basically you're going to want to keep track of everything that you donate to Goodwill, Salvation Army, places like that. And you're going to write down and itemize everything that you've donated. So for example, let's say you donated a microwave. The lowest value you could put is $10. A high value would be $50. So you would just kind of write down microwave. Mine was worth maybe $20, maybe $50. If you donate a refrigerator, it kind of breaks down all the value of items that are donated. So here's children's clothing, furniture. Wow, that one's a big one for a bedroom set, 1,000. Household goods, it gives a breakdown for each single thing. Men's clothing, miscellaneous stuff, women's clothing, and so on. So that's pretty helpful. I highly recommend you do that before your appointment so you can have that documentation ready. And yeah, so that pretty much covers the common things that I see. There is other stuff, but that will be discussed during during your appointment. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. And thanks for watching.